All right, so you're thinking about teaching in South Korea. You've probably seen all the amazing pictures and the cool job postings. But today, we're going to peel back that curtain. We're getting into what it's really like on the ground, using insights from teachers who've actually been there and done that. Let's jump right in. And that quote from teacher Alex Mark, man, it just hits the nail on the head. Because teaching in Korea isn't just about the job description. It's about learning to ride the wave of these constant, wonderful, and sometimes totally baffling surprises. It's a theme you're going to get very familiar with right from day one. So what is this Korean surprise? Well, imagine this. You walk into school thinking you've got 5 classes, but surprise, now you have 7. Or that lesson plan you thought was due next week? Nope, your co-teacher needs it in 20 minutes. Now, sometimes it works in your favor, like a class getting canceled out of nowhere. But the big lesson here is you have to be ready for absolutely anything. And the engine behind this whole Korean surprise thing is a concept called pali-pali. It literally means hurry, hurry. This mindset is what fueled South Korea's incredible transformation into a global economic giant after the war. And yeah, it gets you things like the fastest internet on the planet, but it also means the workplace moves at lightning speed, and you have to be ready to pivot on a dime. But hey, before you even set foot in Korea, you've got to face your first boss level, the paperwork. And I'm not gonna lie, it can feel like an absolute monster. But honestly, think of it as your first real training mission. Getting through this gauntlet proves you have the patience and adaptability you're gonna need. Okay, so first things first, and this is crucial. Get started on your documents as early as humanly possible. Things like getting your original university degree or a national police clearance check, these things can take weeks, sometimes even months. Seriously, do not procrastinate on this stuff. You're going to hear this word a lot, apostille. So what is it? Just think of it as a special, internationally recognized stamp of approval. Because countries like South Korea and many others are a part of something called the Hague Convention, this one stamp is all you need to prove your documents are legit. It saves you from having to get them legalized separately at the embassy. The whole process is really just a 3-step chain of command. First, you get the original document. Then, you take it to the right national authority to get it officially verified. And finally, you send that verified document to the government department that slaps on that final, all-important apostille stamp. So you did it. You survived the paperwork, you've landed in Korea, contract in hand. But that official document you signed, that's only half the story. Now you get to discover what we're going to call your unwritten contract, all the realities of the job that you only find out once you're actually there. Take a look at this number. 800. What do you think that is? No, it's not your salary. It's not the number of teachers in your city. For some teachers, this could be the number of students you'll see in a single week. Yup, while your friend might get placed in a school with 200 kids, you could end up with 800. It all depends on where you land. And this whole expectation versus reality thing, it applies to pretty much everything. You might be dreaming of one school in the heart of Seoul, but end up traveling between 3 different schools in the countryside. You might picture having one dedicated co-teacher, but surprise, you have 5. And your apartment? You probably won't even lay eyes on it until you arrive. All these massive details are often kept under wraps until the very last day of your orientation. And let's talk about the term co-teacher, because this one trips a lot of people up. You might think it means you're planning and teaching every lesson together as a team. But in reality, especially in middle and high schools, you're often the one leading the main English lesson, while your Korean counterpart is there to manage the classroom, handle discipline, and translate when necessary. It's really more of a tag team than a true collaboration. Okay, you've got your placement, you kind of know your role. Now for what might be the single most important part of thriving in a Korean workplace: understanding the social hierarchy. It's all based on ancient Confucian traditions, and showing respect for it is absolutely essential for building good relationships. And it starts with this. Titles are everything. You will almost never, ever use first names at work. Everyone will call you by your last name followed by sonsingname, which means teacher. And you should do the same for all your colleagues. You'll call your code teacher Kim sonsingname, not Jisoo. It's a huge sign of respect. This one's maybe the simplest, but most powerful rule of etiquette. When you give something to someone, or when you receive something, doesn't matter if it's a piece of paper, a gift, or a cup of coffee, you always use 2 hands. It's a small gesture, but it sends a huge message of respect, especially to someone older or more senior than you.
School lunch is a massive part of the daily routine. So remember this one. When you all sit down to eat, you never, ever start until the principal, the vice principal, or the oldest teacher at the table has picked up their spoon and taken the first bite. It's a clear, nonverbal way of showing you know your place in the hierarchy.
Okay, this is a big one, and it's so easy for foreigners to get wrong. You might be used to using a red pen to grade papers or make notes, but in Korea, you must never write a living person's name in red ink. It's a major cultural taboo because that's traditionally how the names of the deceased are written. Just stick to black or blue ink for names, please. Now, if you find yourself out at a staff dinner, this rule is huge. You never pour your own drink. Instead, your job is to keep an eye on everyone else's glass, especially your superiors, and top them off when they get low. Don't worry, someone will be doing the same for you. It's this beautiful, constant, communal act of looking out for each other. Speaking of meals, they're almost always a shared communal experience. Everyone eats from the big dishes in the middle of the table, which is a great way to build closeness. While you're at it, just remember 2 other little things. Never stick your chopsticks straight up in your bowl of rice. It looks like something you'd see at a funeral. And always keep your rice bowl on the table instead of picking it up.
All right, so we've covered some of the big rules, but now we're gonna level up. Let's get into a few of the deeper cultural ideas. Because if you can understand the why behind all these rules, you'll go from just surviving in Korea to actually thriving. First up is nunchi. Think of nunchi as a kind of social superpower. It's the art of reading the room, of sensing the mood, the vibe, the unspoken tensions without anyone having to say a single word. It's about noticing your principal seems stressed before you go ask for a day off. Mastering your nunchi is the key to navigating any social situation smoothly.
Next is hushik. This is the classic after-work company dinner. It's a really important tradition for team bonding, and it's where the strict office hierarchy can relax a little bit. Now, they used to be these really long, heavy drinking nights, but the culture is definitely changing with younger teachers. Still, you're generally expected to go. It's pretty much seen as part of the job. And finally, there's kibun. Kibun is a person's mood, their pride, their overall emotional well-being. And in Korea, protecting another person's kibun, especially a superior's, is incredibly important. This is the reason you might not get a lot of direct critical feedback on your teaching. A co-teacher will often be very indirect to avoid embarrassing you, because that would damage your kibun and disrupt the harmony of the office.
So when you boil it all down, what does it mean? It means that teaching in South Korea is this incredible balancing act. On one hand, you have the poly-poly culture, always rushing, always pushing for more, faster. And on the other, you have this incredibly deep, slow, and complex system of respect, hierarchy, and harmony. The real adventure is figuring out how to find your own balance right in the middle of it all.